What is going on YouTube? I'm getting back from the gym and on another episode of why is my car so dang hot. So we added the plastics in the last video. I don't know if it did a ton or not. It seemed to have helped a hair, but I took it for a drive and it's still 210, 215 and creeping even higher. I then removed the thermostat. There's a lot of back and forth on the thermostat if you research it on forums and stuff. That did nothing, which I kind of knew that was not going to do anything. So removing the thermostat will not cool your car down faster. You need to have a way to remove heat from the water. How do we do that? With a radiator. What dictates how much heat you can get out? Size of your radiator, efficiency of your radiator, how fast you can get, air through the radiator, how much fresh air can you get through the radiator. So there's a lot of things that dictate that. We have one of the better radiators I can fit on my car. I can't really get a larger radiator in my car. It's about as big as it gets. It's a CFS, whatever it is. It's supposed to be like, it's a dual pass, one of the better radiators out there. So we have that. We also have a pretty high CSF. I can't talk right now. We have a pretty good fan on it. I'm just going to say that because I can't get the words out. It's a small, it's like 1800 or something like that, which they do make more. They have like brushless ones that go to like 3000 and stuff, which, yeah, I could have put that on, but I also don't want to pay the amount of money for those. So, will hood louvers or hood vents work? Yeah, they probably will. I'm just not at that point of hacking up my hood yet, and I just really don't want to hack my hood up. Could I remove the downpipe and go with a hood exit? Yes, I could, and that probably would alleviate a lot of engine bay temps because that exhaust does get very hot. I was talking to a buddy, Josh Ross. He actually is the one who built my trans. He also tunes cars, and he was asking me about my timing tables for cruising. And I have gone stroker. I have lowered the compression. The motor's obviously way different. And I'm still kind of running on kind of factory-based timing when it comes to cruising. Well, he has learned through his years that doesn't always work really well. When you stroke a motor, lower compression, different pistons and all that good stuff, you need to run more timing. More timing when you're cruising actually creates less exhaust temperatures. So I'm going to start throwing some timing at this thing at cruise and see what that does. So what we're gonna do is we're going to add some timing to the cruise and we're gonna see what it does. So higher timing on cruise with light throttle actually reduces exhaust temperatures. So it should allow the manifold not to run so hot. So we're gonna try to go up into the 40s, like 40 degrees, 45 degrees on the cruise, see what it does. And then we're gonna come back. I'm gonna see how it did. And then I'm gonna take the hood off and I'm gonna go do a no hood cruise with temperatures. Last time I did it, it was kind of cool out. So it stayed really cool. But today the sun's still out, it's 80 some degrees out. See, I'm sweating. So I wanna see what it does with no hood and just compare the data. Of course, with no hood, it's going to extract a lot more heat, so it should, in theory, stay much cooler. And if that is the case, I think we're going to have to go with some kind of hood vent if I want to keep driving a lot in the summer and stuff. So we'll see about that. But I got the plastics. They didn't really do a whole lot. Took the thermostat out. Didn't really do a whole lot. So, again, I think it's just an air issue. I just don't think I can get air out of the engine bay quick enough. So if we can reduce the heat with the timing, that's going to help bring the temps down. All right, so we're back from the cruise, and I went up to about 42, 43 degrees of timing, and it actually did help. It didn't seem to climb as quick like yesterday when I went out with no thermostat. It was seeing 215 fairly quickly cruising. Today it got to like 208, 210-ish, and then it actually started to come back down from 210, it's never done that before. So it definitely, I think, helped, and when I opened the hood up, The manifold area didn't seem to be quite as hot as it normally is. I mean, it was so hot, like you couldn't even put your hand over there. It would burn your hand, just like even in the vicinity of the manifold. Now, it actually doesn't seem that bad. So I think it did help a lot, cut the exhaust temperatures down, which is good. So now, we're gonna go no hood, and with the timing cut, or with it more timing, we're gonna go for 10, 15 minute little drive. And I just wanna see what it's like with no hood in the summer temps. So it's still really hot out, and we're just gonna see. Now the thermostat still is removed. I am gonna probably put that back in because I do feel like it actually may make it a little worse just because there's no restriction there. So we'll see. But anyways, I'm gonna go for a cruise with no hood, no thermostat, with the timing bumped up. We'll see what the data looks like, and it's most likely gonna run fairly decent. All right, guys, well, we are out here tearing the car apart. As you can see, no radiator. So what we're doing here is I took my radiator transcooler off. So this is my auxiliary style like transcooler. I still have a fan transcooler in the back of the car, and that's what I ran for a really, really long time. I put that in just to kind of help with transcooling for cruising, but I've never had transmission cooling issues. It always stays pretty cool. Transmission cooler sat on the front and blocked almost half of the radiator there. So the plan is I just removed that, and I hooked up the old lines. I took the auxiliary lines out, and then we're gonna throw this back in. I was trying to see if my old fans, if I could spin the blades upside down, use them as a pusher fan, and I can't. So I did get a pusher fan. I got a big 16-inch pusher fan that's gonna come, and that's gonna help with the 16-inch puller fan. Talking to some buddies, and they think maybe if I add a pusher fan, it'll help with more airflow. This is the only fan that I can fit. I can't do duals because of the turbo setup. So I did a shroud with a single 16. This is a Spal Extreme. It pushes pretty good air, but it may just not be enough for the extreme conditions that I'm seeing here. So we're doing some adjustments here. Also found out that my overflow bracket cracked off. This is the second one that's done this. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about just drilling and tapping my transmission pan. That way any overflow of transmission fluid will just go right back in my pan. I actually saw that on a YouTube guy that builds transmissions, and he actually said that he prefers that because then the fluid just goes right back in the transmission. If it does get hot and burps fluid out, it just goes back into the transmission pan. So I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna check with Tommy, make sure there's nothing wrong with that, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. So that means we're probably gonna change transmission fluid. I'm gonna drop the pan. This is the first time changing the fluid since the rebuild, so not a bad thing to do. And then we'll put fresh transmission fluid in it once I drill and tap the pan. All right, we're back driving. So I have the transmission cooler off now, and I got the hood back on, and I'm gonna go for a little cruise, see how she does. Right now we're sitting at 185. I burped the coolant system, and the thermostat's back in the car. So we're just gonna get out here in the highway, do about 60, 65, and just kind of see it. It's gonna creep up, go on newest kind of speeds, and then we're gonna drop it back down to like 50 and see if it cools on. I'm a little blown away right now. I'm cruising 65 mile an hour on the highway, and it's very slowly creeping up. It was about 185 to 188, just cruising around normal speeds. It's going to get hot on the highway because I got really high gears, but I want to see if it can recover once I'm off and I'm cruising. Well, what a difference, guys. I did not think that transcooler on the front of the radiator was going to cause that many problems. But, so I got on the highway, it went about 200-ish, and I got off the highway and it immediately dropped into the 180s. So a heat block area, and was just really the radiator was struggling to overcome the heat of the trans cooler up front. So that's pretty crazy. Well guys, after a lot of trial and error, I finally figured out that my trans cooler was causing my high temps. It still gets to like 200 cruise on a highway, which is to be expected. I mean, my RPM is at 4,000 RPM, so it's not a highway cruiser, but I wanted it to be, I didn't want to have to worry about if I did have to go on a highway cruise for any kind of class, or if I want to go to Cars and Coffee or whatever in the middle of the summer, that it's not going to overheat going there. Of course, the transmission is a little bit warmer now that it's down a cooler, and it's only got the rear cooler with the fan, which I had that for 3 years, I think, before I ended up putting that on. And I only put it on because I wanted to see if it would cool it down more on the highway, which it did, but it also makes my coolant hot. So that little tiny trans cooler was just, I guess, on the combination of blocking fresh air to the radiator. And also, I mean, it's like a hot block sitting on a radiator because transmission fluid's going through it. It gets really hot. It's 180 degrees. So now you have a 180 degree block sitting on the radiator, and the radiator's trying to cool it down. It's trying to cool itself down. It's trying to cool, you know, the trans cooler down. So it was just a combination of things. But yeah, I mean, I ran it with the hood on, went down the highway about 2 exits, got up to like 205-ish. Trans was 195-ish. And then I got off the highway and it immediately started coming down. So once the RPMs came down, I got in town, it was like 188, 187 all the way through town. And then of course transmission started to come down too. I did shoot it with my spray water, and man, it dropped so fast. I mean, it was like in the 170s when I shot it with water. So huge improvement. So if I'm gonna wanna keep the trans a little cooler cruising, I'm even gonna have to get a bigger trans cooler and mount it somewhere at the back of the car, or run 2 coolers at the back of the car. I think putting stuff in the front's just not gonna do it because I have a very thick intercooler, plus, you know, all the heat that I got involved. But I am happy I figured out what's causing the issue. Didn't have to hack up my hood, didn't have to do anything crazy. I do have a pusher fan coming, but I'm gonna send it back to Jason. But Jason, I appreciate you looking out. He hooked me up with a pusher, small pusher. So I don't really need the fan. I'm not gonna put the pusher fan on it. So if anything, I might do another trans cooler, but I don't know. I'm gonna talk to Pete at Circle D and see what he says about, you know, what's too hot. I mean, I know my truck can get up to 210, 220. And you know, it's driving. So I don't know the performance transmissions, how hot they want before you stop. So once I figure that out, you know, I only got to about 195 on the highway. So yeah, we'll see. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much gonna do it. I know it's a short video, not a whole lot of action, but I wanted to bring you on my whole coolant experience here. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you. Comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you later. See you.